today. The one telling us the story is janitor Daniel, a humble worker, overlooked by everyone. But he had the idea that could save the entire company. It's a touching story about recognition, courage, and the strength of someone no one believed in. Daniel, my dear, the floor is yours now.
Thank you, Nana Rose. Let's proceed. Paragon Manufacturing's factory was a cacophony, the rhythmic whirring of machinery a relentless, oppressive soundtrack to the lives lived within its walls. I was one of those lives, a phantom within the factory, pushing a mop across grimy floors, my existence barely acknowledged by the men and women who operated the imposing metal machines churning out widgets day after day. My name is Daniel, and for 5 years I was the caretaker, the unseen man, the one who cleaned the grime no one else would touch. I observed, listened, absorbed the factory's atmosphere like a sponge. The haphazard pantries, the rushed lunches, the anxieties whispered about quotas and layoffs all seeped into my understanding, a silent comprehension of the delicate ecosystem that kept Paragon afloat. The factory floor was a sort of battlefield, a perpetual struggle against entropy. Pools of oil bloomed like dark blossoms on the concrete, shards of metal glittered like malevolent confetti, and the air hung heavy with the metallic tang of industry. My task was to maintain order amidst the chaos, to preserve an appearance of organization in the face of relentless production. It was a thankless chore, frequently met with apathy, sometimes with outright disdain. I recall a specific afternoon, the air thick with humidity and the acrid scent of burning rubber. Mr. Harrison, the floor supervisor, a man whose face seemed permanently etched with a furrowed brow, interrupted me as I emptied an overflowing dumpster of discarded parts. "Daniel," he growled, his voice sharp and impatient, "you call this cleaning? There's still grease on the floor near Machine 7. Get it done and be swift. We don't pay you to stand around." Your words held no import for me, not because they were unexpected, but because they were so commonplace. I was accustomed to being treated thus, as if my time and effort were worth less than everyone else's. Yet, beneath the surface of my quiet resignation, a resentment festered, a silent rebellion against the persistent devaluation. The machines themselves held a peculiar allure for me. I spent my breaks observing them, contemplating the intricate ballet of gears and levers, the precise movements that transformed raw materials into finished products. I lacked comprehension of the underlying engineering, yet I appreciated their power, their efficiency, their relentless dedication to the task at hand. Machine 7, which Mr. Harrison had designated, proved a particularly capricious beast. An older model, it was prone to malfunctions and demanded constant maintenance. Operators grumbled about its whims and its tendency to freeze up at the most inopportune moments. Nevertheless, it was a crucial component in the production line, and any downtime for repairs would represent a substantial loss in output. The day arrived when Machine 7 finally succumbed, ceasing operation. A piercing shriek reverberated throughout the factory floor, followed by a plume of smoke and the acrid stench of combusting metal. The entire production line ground to a halt. Panic rippled through the ranks as Mr. Harrison frantically assessed the damage. The chief engineer, a lean man named Mr. Thompson, entered the fray. The news spread like wildfire, casting a pall of despondency over the factory. Layoffs were whispered, contracts were jeopardized, and Paragon's future hung precariously in the balance. I remained in a corner, broom in hand, listening to the hushed conversations, the expressions of fear and uncertainty etched upon the faces of my coworkers. Amidst the chaos and despair, an idea emerged. A solution born from years of observation, quiet contemplation, and a comprehension of the machinery that far surpassed the boundaries of my prescribed function. It was a risky proposition, a gamble, but it was Paragon's only chance. And it was a chance for me finally to be seen, heard, to demonstrate that even a custodian could possess something of value to offer. The fluorescent lights hummed, and the fate of the factory and mine hung precariously in the balance. The silence that followed Mr. Thompson's announcement was oppressive, a stifling blanket of impending doom. The factory's rhythmic pulse, once a symbol of productivity, now served as a stark and agonizing reminder of its vulnerability. There I stood, as always, unnoticed, the burden of my secret knowledge pressing down on me. It wasn't engineering expertise I possessed, but perhaps something more vital in that moment, an intimate familiarity. I had spent countless hours meticulously attending to Machine 7, observing its idiosyncrasies, listening to its groans, feeling its vibrations. I knew its rhythms, its weaknesses, its subtle sensitivities in a way no engineer, immersed in blueprints, ever could. It wasn't simply observation. There was a certain empathy I felt for the machines, a connection that transcended their cold, metallic nature. They were, in a way, sentient beings, each with its unique personality, its own set of challenges. Like the people who operated them, they were components of a larger system striving to fulfill their purpose, to contribute to the collective good. And when they failed, when they malfunctioned, there was, in a peculiar way, a sense of personal inadequacy. Now, consider how this sentiment fueled my audacious plan. It wasn't ambition or a craving for recognition that drove me, it was a profound need to mend something fractured, to restore the factory floor's equilibrium. The idea itself was simplistic, almost embarrassing. While cleaning the ventilation system, I noticed a discarded component from a defunct, antique machine, a component that, with a modicum of ingenuity and a considerable amount of luck, could serve as a temporary replacement for the broken transmission shaft. Undeniably, obstacles presented themselves. The component was the wrong size, the wrong material, everything was wrong. Modification, adaptation, and a degree of improvisation bordering on recklessness would be required. Moreover, I was acutely aware that Mr. Harrison, in particular, would deride my suggestion, dismissing it as the delusional fantasy of a mere caretaker. I envisioned his sarcastic smile, his condescending words, his complete disbelief that someone like me could have anything of value to contribute. Despite these reservations, the notion of remaining passive, watching the Paragon factory crumble, was unbearable. Thus, taking a deep breath, I approached Mr. Thompson, who stood despondent beside the silent Machine 7, his countenance etched with anguish. Hesitantly, I cleared my throat. "Mr. Thompson," I began, my voice a near whisper, "I believe there might be a solution." His reaction was precisely what I anticipated. He regarded me, his eyes clouded with fatigue and frustration, and let out a weary sigh. "Look, Daniel," he said, his voice laced with impatience, "I appreciate your zeal, but we're dealing with a critical issue here. We require a qualified engineer, and not." He trailed off, searching for a polite way to dismiss me. "Just listen to me, sir," I insisted, my voice gaining firmness. "I know it sounds ludicrous, but I've been pondering that old, deactivated component from the Miller machine. It's not a perfect solution, but with some modifications it could function as a stopgap measure." Mr. Thompson regarded me for a protracted moment, his countenance unreadable. I could discern skepticism in his eyes, a doubt that a custodian could possess the knowledge or the expertise to resolve a problem that had baffled his entire engineering team. Beneath the skepticism, however, I also detected a flicker of desperation, a willingness to clutch at any straw, no matter how tenuous. "Continue," he finally said, his voice hesitant and inquisitive. "Tell me more." The hum of the fluorescent lights seemed to intensify, a silent testament to the improbable proposition about to be unveiled. Despite their weariness, a spark of curiosity, a flicker of despair mirroring my own, resided in their eyes. I meticulously unfurled my plan, detailing my observations of the antiquated Miller machinery, the potential compatibility of the discarded component, and the modifications I envisioned. I spoke with renewed confidence, my voice resonating with a conviction that surprised even me. A factory's lifeblood is not solely found in its designs or output, but also in the collective ingenuity of its workforce, regardless of their roles. Mr. Thompson, a man of science and precision, listened intently, occasionally interjecting with technical queries that, surprisingly, I found myself equipped to address. My years observing the machinery afforded me a practical understanding that surpassed any formal academic training. Clearly, it wasn't an easy sale. The risks were substantial. The component risked fracturing under stress, potentially causing further damage. The modifications risked completely misaligning the system. Essentially, we were attempting a mechanical transplant with incompatible organs, a procedure fraught with peril. Nonetheless, the alternative, the slow, agonizing demise of the Paragon, was far more disheartening. Finally, Mr. Thompson relented, his decision, I suspect, motivated more by the paucity of alternatives than by genuine faith in my abilities. "All right, Daniel," he said, his voice laced with resignation. "Let's give it a try. But understand this, if it goes awry, the accountability rests squarely on your shoulders." That night, following the factory's descent into silence, we initiated our clandestine operation. The cavernous space, usually teeming with activity, now lay unnervingly still, the only sounds the hum of emergency lights and the click of our tools. Mr. Thompson, loosening his tie and rolling up his sleeves, underwent a discernible metamorphosis, his formal demeanor supplanted by intense, focused concentration. We collaborated closely, two unlikely partners united by a common goal. He expertly guided me through the technical intricacies of the modifications, elucidating the stresses and tolerances involved, while I contributed my practical knowledge, my intimate understanding of the machine's inner workings. The salvaged component, dusted off from its dormant state, was a massive, heavy piece of metal, marked and worn from years of service. Yet, as we began to reshape it, to mold it to our specifications, it seemed to acquire a new vitality, imbued with a renewed sense of purpose. This experience illuminates the latent potential residing within each of us, awaiting the opportune moment, the appropriate challenge to unfurl. The hours coalesced into a seamless flow of labor, the metallic rhythm of our tools echoing in the nocturnal silence. We chiseled, welded, measured, adjusted, our actions guided by instinct and a shared vision. The air thickened with the acrid scent of burnt metal and the salty tang of sweat, a tangible testament to our collective endeavor. As dawn approached, painting the sky with strokes of orange and violet, we retreated to contemplate our creation. The modified component, now gleaming and flawlessly integrated, seemed almost indigenous to its surroundings, a testament to our ingenuity and perseverance. It was a makeshift solution, a temporary fix, but it was our solution, born from despair and propelled by hope. As we prepared to install it, a palpable sense of anxious anticipation hung heavy in the air. The fate of Paragon, and perhaps my own, rested upon the success of this improbable undertaking. The installation was a delicate ballet of strength and subtlety. Each turn of the key, each strike of the hammer was executed with meticulous care, a testament to the fragile hope we harbored. The factory's silence amplified the sounds of our labor, transforming them into pronouncements of impending success or catastrophic failure. Expertise can spring forth from unexpected sources, often challenging traditional corporate hierarchies. Despite a lack of formal credentials, my years of quiet observation cultivated a unique perspective, a practical familiarity that proved invaluable. Mr. Thompson, while possessing theoretical knowledge, acknowledged and respected my practical insights, a testament to his open-mindedness. The insertion of the modified component elicited a collective intake of breath. The fit was precise, almost unnervingly so, and a wave of apprehension washed over me. Had we miscalculated? Overlooked some critical detail? Only time would tell. We connected the final fasteners, tightening them with deliberate precision, then stepped back, our faces bathed in the pallid glow of the emergency lights. Mr. Thompson, with his astute engineering acumen, and I, with my profound familiarity with machinery, combined our disparate talents to forge an unconventional solution. This synergy, born from a shared sense of despair, surpassed what either of us could have achieved in isolation. The moment of truth had arrived. Mr. Thompson, his hands slightly trembling, reached for the power switch. The factory held its collective breath. A low hum filled the air as the machine stirred back to life, its gears groaning hesitantly. For a moment of suspended animation, nothing transpired. Then, with a shudder and a cough, Machine 7 roared into operation, its rhythmic clangor reverberating throughout the factory. A wave of relief, so potent it nearly felled us, washed over us. We had succeeded. Against all odds, we resurrected the machine, salvaged the production line, and perhaps saved Paragon. Mr. Thompson turned to me, a genuine smile gracing his face for the first time since the malfunction. "Daniel," he said, his voice brimming with admiration, "you're a lifesaver." But the victory was short-lived. As Machine 7 gained momentum, a piercing whistle emanated from its core, a sound that sent shivers down my spine. I recognized that sound. It was the sound of metal straining, of a component pushed beyond its operational parameters. The modified transmission shaft, while functional, was never designed to withstand the pressures of sustained operation. Despite the temporary respite, the problem lingered. The makeshift solution bought us time, but was merely palliative, not a definitive resolution. A new transmission shaft was still required, and until its arrival, Paragon remained vulnerable, its future precariously balanced. Yet, in that moment, as Machine 7 continued its relentless operation, a flicker of hope ignited within me. We had demonstrated that ingenuity and collaboration could transcend even the most formidable obstacles. Now, we simply needed to find a more lasting solution. Contemplating this journey thus far, the silent power of untapped potential cannot be denied. It is a narrative woven not from grand pronouncements or calculated strategies, but from the most unassuming origins, the discerning gaze of a caretaker, the quiet testimony of a factory floor. The unfolding story reveals something far greater than mere repair. It unearths the latent ingenuity residing in the most unexpected corners, a testament to humanity's capacity for adaptation and resourcefulness. Any factory is a complex ecosystem where each component, regardless of its perceived importance, contributes to the overall health and vitality. Machinery, workers, even the air laden with the aroma of industry, all are interconnected, interdependent. And when one element falters, the entire system feels the strain, demanding a response that transcends conventional solutions. It is in these moments of crisis that true innovation emerges, often from improbable sources. With everything that has transpired, the path forward becomes clearer, though not devoid of potential uncertainties. The temporary solution, the salvaged component, these are not endpoints, but rather catalysts for further exploration. They represent a willingness to challenge the status quo, embrace unconventional approaches, and recognize that genuine progress often necessitates a leap of faith. What remains is to consider how such a spark of ingenuity, born of necessity, can ignite lasting change within enterprises, not just within the factory walls, but beyond. The narrative transcends a malfunctioning machine or a salvaged factory. It embodies the transformative power of human connection, the potential for innovation to germinate from the crucible of adversity, and the unwavering belief that even the most unassuming individual holds the key to unlocking a brighter future. The immediate crisis surrounding Machine 7 finally subsided, replaced by a discreet and renewed hum of productivity. The factory floor, once shadowed by uncertainty, pulsed with purpose once more. Yet, something had irrevocably altered within the walls of Paragon, a subtle yet profound transformation that extended far beyond the repaired transmission shaft. It was as if the near disaster had peeled back layers of ingrained assumptions, revealing the intrinsic worth in every contribution, regardless of its provenance. The incident became a whispered legend, a poignant reminder that genius can blossom in the most unforeseen corners. It wasn't merely about me, the caretaker who temporarily averted disaster. It was about a collective awakening, the realization that innovation wasn't confined to the engineering department or the boardroom. It was a recognition that every pair of hands, every set of eyes, every attentive mind held the potential to uncover solutions, to propel the factory forward. Corporate processes are not solely measured by production or profit margins, but also by the cultivation of human potential. Paragon, in its near collapse, unearthed a profound truth. Its greatest asset was not its machinery or technology, but the ingenuity and dedication of its workforce. This lesson, learned through adversity, represents a paradigm shift, a perception capable of reshaping the company's future. The transformation wasn't instantaneous, of course. Deep-seated habits are resistant to abandonment, and entrenched hierarchies are notoriously difficult to dismantle. Yet a seed had been sown, a seed of empowerment, inclusivity, and acknowledgement of the inherent worth of each individual. The company embarked on a proactive investment in its personnel, encouraging them to articulate their ideas, contribute their unique perspectives, and actively participate in shaping Paragon's future. Mere recognition of inherent potential is insufficient. It demands active cultivation, a conscious effort to foster an environment conducive to the blossoming of ingenuity. It necessitates a willingness to listen, learn, embrace unconventional approaches, and challenge the established order. A paradigm shift is required, a transition from rigid control to a more collaborative and empowering leadership style. The legacy of Machine 7 extends far beyond the factory floor. It serves as a potent reminder that innovation is not a rare and elusive commodity, but a readily available resource, poised for exploration within every community, every organization, every individual. It is a clarion call to challenge our own presuppositions, to interrogate the limitations we impose upon ourselves and others, and to acknowledge that the greatest achievements frequently emerge from the most unanticipated quarters. And so, while the fluorescent lights continue to hum above the Paragon factory floor, they illuminate not only the machinery and the workers, but also the enduring spirit of ingenuity, the unwavering belief in human potential, and the transformative power of recognizing that even the humblest among us may hold the key to unlocking a brighter future. The true work has barely begun. If you enjoyed our story, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Nana Rose will respond to you.